second scientific notation video, what we're going to do now is go the other way. Our numbers are given in scientific notation, and we're going to write them in standard notation. Okay, that means really we're just going to multiply. So what I'm going to do here is multiply 4.37 times 10 to the 5th. Now remember, this means 4.37 times 10 to the 5th, that's 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. But every time you multiply a number by 10, it moves the decimal place, right? For example, 4.37 times 10 is 43.7, right? So basically, when you multiply by a power of 10, you just move your decimal point. So that's all we got to do with these. These are easy. So 4.37 multiply by 10. What I'm going to do is add some zeros. Remember, one thing to keep in mind, which way we move it, because if it's a negative exponent, we're going to move it the other way, to the left. These ones would have to move to the left, the positives to the right. So like I said, I try not to remember left and right. What I'm going to do is just remember that when I multiply by 10 to the 5th, it's just going to make the number bigger, right? So it means I got to go that direction. Okay, so I fill in some zeros there after the 7, and I'm just going to move my decimal place 5 spots. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My new decimal place goes there. I just had a couple extra zeros. I don't really need those. So it's 437 and 3 zeros. That's it, 437,000. Okay, next one. 2.11 times 10 to the 3rd, so 2.11. We need some zeros to be safe, just do a few of them. Okay, and then move it 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. It's making that number bigger, right? It's now 2110. That's where the decimal place is. I don't need that 0 afterwards because it's 0.0 doesn't change the number. So it's just 2,110. Okay, negative exponents, we're going to go the other direction. So I got 9.17. So I have to recognize that when I multiply by negative power, it's going to go and make this number smaller. So I'm going to need the zeros on this side. Okay, and I move it 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I stop right there. So my answer is 0.0000917. Okay, and if you want in the book, you'll see a 0 here. That's just showing you that 0 point is less than 1. That number is less than 1. Okay, how about this one? 4.911. Notice I'm leaving myself some space over here to do this. 1, 1, 1 times 10 to the negative 7. So I'm going to need a few zeros in here because I know I'm going to have to move 7 spots from that decimal. So I'm just going to put a bunch in and see what happens. 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that means I need 6 zeros, right? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a 0. 4, 9, 1, 1. Very small number. Okay? So that's a few examples of those. Let's do some. The last thing we have to do in this chapter is multiply two numbers in scientific notation. Okay. So my first example looks like this. Okay, so I'm going to multiply 2.4 times 10 to the 5th times 1.33 times 10 to the negative 1. Okay, so here's how we're going to handle these. We're going to multiply our 2 decimal values, get a result, and then we're going to multiply our 2 powers of 10 using our exponent rules. Okay, so the first thing I got to do, pull up my calculator here and multiply 1.33 times 2.4. Okay, and that gives me 3.192, so I'm going to write that down. and then I multiply my exponents. 10 to the negative 1 times 10 to the 5th is 10 to the 4th. Remember, that's an exponent rule. All you got to do there is add your exponents, right? Because with multiplication, the shortcut is to add your exponents. Okay, do one more. 9.21 times 10 to the 6th times 3.4 times 10 to the 3rd. Okay, calculator, 9.21 times 3.4, 31.314 and then I use my properties for exponents and I add the exponents. That's 10 to the 9th. Whoops, that should be a times. Okay, so 31.314 times 10 to the 9th. The problem with this is I want to write my answers in scientific notation. This is not scientific notation because that number is not between 1 and 10, right? So what I have to do is write that number by itself in scientific notation, just this guy. So that would be, you'd have to move the decimal place over 1, right? So that'd be 3.1314 times 10 to the 1st, right? That's just that one number right there. That is this number here. 31.314 is the same as this number. 3.1314, move the decimal place over 1. That was a number larger than 10, so the power is positive. And then I'm going to deal with the 10 to the 9th. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do next, is multiply that by 10 to the 9th. And I get my answer, my final answer in scientific notation, 3.1314 times 10 to the 10th, right? Because I add my exponents there. You multiply those two with powers 10, shortcut, add your exponents, and that's my adjustment I need to make. So you'll notice in number 1 we didn't have to do that because the number we ended up with was already between 1 and 10, that first number. So that's scientific notation, it's already done, right? But down here, when I got this far, I had to do an extra step. I had to adjust that guy to put it in scientific notation. Alright, this video ends here. The next video will have just 2 more examples on how to divide.